these zinnias were planted on March 15th, so they are already reaching well into their growing season. The goal of what I am doing today in the garden is to give them an extremely heavy pruning in order to convince the plant that it does not want to make seed. It instead still wants to make blooms. I think this will work. I am hoping that this gives us a much longer time to cut from these zinnias as opposed to the plants just getting kind of spent. So I made it my goal to do this very heavy pruning as fast as possible. So in the beginning, I was saving some blooms, and then I decided that I was just going to go as fast as I could cut because I needed to cut literally hundreds of blooms, and I was just throwing them on the ground. I know that this may appear wasteful, but the other option is to just literally let the plant go to seed and stop producing altogether. So I basically did what had to be done. I did a heavy pruning and then a deep watering for about an hour. And I do have to say the garden is already looking like it got a massive facelift. So I am hopeful that this was the right call. I have showed a lot of restraint in leaving my rose bushes uncut. I read that it is wisest to not harvest the first year. So while all 5 of them have bloomed more than once now, I have not cut any. I am so looking forward to cutting a little bit next year and even more in their 3rd year of blooming. They have been such a fun thing to watch grow and bloom repeatedly, even just this summer. So I can't wait until they become massive climbing and shrub roses. Things are really moving right along in the garden. Even with my very heavy pruning, I was able to make arrangements for myself and a lot of people in my family. So no worries there. There were plenty of zinnias, gomphrena, celosia, sunflowers, all of that to go around, and my marigolds are just beginning. It is such a sweet reminder of seasons the garden is. Even though it is very much still summer, I am looking ahead towards fall because we have 3 to 4 annual events that we host every single fall. So I am prepping the garden to be fully popping off this fall. Another thing that I am doing to prepare for fall hosting is scouring Wayfair, who happens to be the sponsor of today's video. Wayfair is where I head whenever I need something for my home. Anything from doing a fall refresh, whenever I need lovely hosting equipment, or whenever I just need everyday essentials, I like to use Wayfair. For some of the dinner parties that I have coming up in the next few months, I ordered these really unique plates that go perfectly with my home's aesthetic. I love that because I know that I can use them all of the time. Of course, I'm really excited to use them this fall, but they will be handy all year round because they match my vibe really well. And I also ordered napkins so that we can have a beautiful tablescape. Again, I stuck with the aesthetic of my home. If you're going to be tackling a home project this fall, maybe doing some reorganizing or just refreshing some of your everyday essentials or hosting, I highly recommend you head to Wayfair for all things home. I know that you guys will be just as impressed with the quality and value that I have always been very impressed by with Wayfair. Thanks so much to Wayfair for sponsoring today's video. One of my favorite summer meals is roast tacos. I find this meal to be one, incredibly easy to make, and two, really conducive to summer because it is especially tasty whenever it is topped with all of the wonderful produce that we are getting from the garden and fresh cilantro. Even avocados taste a little bit better in the summer, so I love this recipe. It is made especially simple by using this Better Goods seasoning packet from Walmart. I love these seasoning packets because, first of all, they tend to be pretty clean, and I find that cooking from a seasoning packet is so much easier. I think because you don't even have to look up a recipe, you don't have to get out any spices. It just makes getting this whole thing started so simple. And this one in particular is extremely tasty. I've had this one, which is the birria one. I've used the chicken tinga. I have used the carnitas one, and every single time I have been pleasantly surprised. So if you are looking for what I consider a dinner hack, I am a big fan of these. This meal is especially tasty whenever you store all the meat with the juices. So what I do is transfer it to a glass pan and then shred the chuck roast directly in that pan and then let it sit until dinner time. Or if we are eating dinner right away, I will store the leftovers in the fridge just in this pan. It's really easy because all you have to do is pop the lid on, and also it tastes so good when that meat sits in those juices, especially whenever you can get a little bit of those juices on your taco. It serves almost as a sauce, and it is incredibly tasty. When it is time to eat, whether it be for dinner or for leftovers, all you have to do is warm up some tortillas or get out some tortilla chips. These also taste really good as nachos, and then just assemble your tacos. If you are going to have a lot of leftovers, I recommend doing what I do, which is just having one big container for your taco toppings and slicing up the onions, slicing up some cilantro, slicing up the tomatoes, and then putting them in that container, because for lunch the next day, it will be very easy if everything's already cut. And then you just top it with your favorite salsa and you have yourself a very good meal. Another one of my favorite things to do to make meals just a little bit easier is to batch cook proteins. So today I thawed 3 packs of chicken breasts, and I am just going to put them all in the Instant Pot in order to make some shredded chicken. Then I can use that shredded chicken different ways throughout the week, or I can freeze some of it and even use it in coming weeks. I find that whenever I have a protein that is either easy to thaw or already made, I am never very far from a meal, especially not a meal for my toddler. I find that children of that age just don't have as complex of palates as adults do, and so they don't require as much. She loves just eating shredded chicken with some shredded cheese melted on top and some organic sour cream, which is obviously extremely simple for me to do. So I like having that kind of stuff in my fridge. This particular day, I actually did have quite a bit of time to spend in my kitchen, so I did what I call a more complex meal or a more fussy meal, and I made a chicken pot pie. I knew that I was going to be gone on a girls' night that night, and so I wanted to make dinner super easy to make. So chicken pot pie is the move for that, because You can make it completely ahead of time and then bake it. This particular day, I actually decided to make 2 of them because I had made so much chicken, and then I actually just froze one. So I have done that before where you just bake a chicken pot pie completely from frozen, and it is so handy, especially if you are like me and you find yourself in a situation where people are coming over around meal times and you're maybe not expecting that so often. You can just pull the chicken pot pie out of the freezer and have a meal ready for everybody in about an hour. So this is something that I love to make whenever I need a make ahead dinner for a weeknight, and also to have a freezer meal from. Even though I feel like there are a lot of busy days in the summer and little routine and just a lot going on, I also find that there is plenty of time to slow down and make some pie dough or sew a project. In the summer, I can do some of those inside projects as well, probably just because the days are so long. And like I mentioned before, I am trying to get better at just doing this stuff and embracing the interruptions, embracing the messes, embracing things that, unless I train my brain, can otherwise be very frustrating. But I am trying to remember that doing things is better than not doing things, and the answer is certainly to just do nothing, at least not for me. I am a high energy person that needs to kind of be doing something, and so even with the interruptions and the messes and all of that stuff, this is all a worthwhile pursuit. It is worthwhile to have hobbies and to care for our home, and it is a job that I love to do. I find this role and this season of summer to be so inspiring. I am dreaming about so many fun projects right now, and I'm really excited to share them with you. I have some rooms that I want to paint coming up here soon. I have some stuff that I want to sew, some parties that I want to have and host, like I mentioned. This is just such an inspiring time, both of life and of the year for me. So I'm excited that you guys enjoy coming along that journey with me, and also that I get to share it with you guys, because this is just a really, really sweet time. If you are watching this expecting a tutorial on chicken pot pie, please do not follow this exactly. This was not the most well-made chicken pot pie. I definitely should have sauteed my onions first and my garlic and then added my veggies and my broth, but it is what it is. It honestly still tasted really good, but it definitely wasn't perfectly made by any means. I am still doing dairy-free with the inclusion of butter. So for the chicken pot pie, instead of including cream or milk, I just did some broth and a lot of butter. I actually had one of my nieces made me a chicken pot pie when I was postpartum, and she kind of told me how she did it without the dairy, and it was so good. So I'm kind of following her lead there, and I think that if you guys are looking for a way to make this more dairy-free friendly, the chicken pot pie, this is definitely the way to do it. Outside of, like, I've seen some other recipes that include some non-dairy milks. Those were never as tasty. So major props to my niece for figuring that one out. And I am happy to share it with you guys if you guys are wanting to make this as well, but struggle with dairy like I do. I got the chicken pot pies fully assembled and left one on the counter with a note on how to cook it. And then once the other one cooled down, I had my husband wrap it up with saran wrap and store it in the freezer so that we have another meal for another day. It is always my hope that me learning how to lean into this role of homemaker and mother is inspiring to you. I try to share my learnings and what I'm excited about, the things that I'm trying. So I hope that you guys are finding that inspiring. As always, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you guys here next week on our Sweet Sunny Days.